Robbie Lawler was out of control.
This is Double Cross, the murder of Robbie Lawler.
It was going to be an all-out war with him in the middle of it.
A Crime World special investigation podcast based on my new book, Web of Betrayal, wherever you get your podcasts.
So we're into January, and it was last November when that Conor McGregor trial happened. We were just looking back there this morning ourselves at figures and to see what was what. It felt like it doesn't feel like it's that long ago. So what? We're into kind of coming up to 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Nikita Hand is now going back into court, seeking an injunction on Conor McGregor from putting out that video footage of her, CCTV footage that was used in the trial on social media.
Yeah, so this week, lawyers for Nikita Hand sought an injunction for publishing the CCTV. The way these things work is that in all civil cases and in criminal cases, people get effectively, both sides of the cases get sent to lawyers, and as part of that would be the CCTV that was presumably originally gotten access to by the Gardaí, would have originally got the CCTV off the Beacon Hotel. There probably would have been discovery from both sides for that, and that CCTV then has been gone around to both legal teams. So Nikita Hand's lawyers came back to court this week and asked for that CCTV to get an injunction to stop Conor McGregor or any of his agents, or whatever the term used is, from publishing that. And the reason why she sought that injunction was because a business associate of Conor McGregor's had released a statement effectively saying that there was imminent publication of this CCTV.
The business associate we're not naming?
No, we can name the business associate. It's just lack of ability to
multitask.
No, and also to pronounce the name. So I'll take my time. But it's an Italian guy. He's a distributor of one of the alcohol products that McGregor has.
Right.
His name is Gabriel Ernesto Rapisarda.
Okay.
Effectively.
So how strange. So this guy is a business associate. He's another CEO of that company or something, of one of his drinks companies. Yeah. And they're releasing a statement through the drinks company, or he's as an individual
he's releasing it as an individual.
Okay.
And so that statement has gone out. I don't know if he's a CEO or anything like that, but he's a distributor, an alcohol distributor. So he's put that out, and his claim was that this CCTV would show a different story or something along those lines. And obviously, the CCTV was heard during the trial for a start, or was seen during the trial by the jury, and it didn't make a difference. The jury still made a clear decision that they believe Nikita Hand's version of events, that is uncategorical.
In the case against Conor McGregor. James Lawrence, the other individual that was tried, was basically...
They didn't find
in her
against him. However, that was also referred to by Justice Alexander Owens, who, when he was deciding the issue of cost, said that the jury did find in favour of James Lawrence, but not for the reasons that he had put forward effectively.
Now, Conor McGregor on his own social media site this is on Instagram, so as my kids say, you have to hold it and don't
Yeah.
Are you allowed to touch anyone else's phone?
Well, no, probably not.
Mine are totally paranoid. Yeah. I'm going to press a
send an
emoji or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, he is on Instagram. He has up the RTE story that Nikita Hand seeks injunction to stop him publishing CCTV shown in court. He has photographs of himself in the Old Forge pub, and then there's some statements here. As regards this RTE story, he says, why don't they want to make public the video between Nikita and James in the elevator many hours after the meeting between Nikita and Conor? Now, maybe that's, that's the Gabriella.
Yeah, that's the guy, the Italian drinks distributor.
So Conor McGregor is basically reposting his commentary.
Yeah, but obviously...
So he's keeping himself a step away from this.
Yeah.
Another comment on his stories on Instagram. Since my name has been used in the last few days, let's clarify one thing. The video is a fundamental element of this shameful story. A video that clearly shows that Nikita's party continued long after the meeting with Conor.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is where we're at now. Normally, if you were to seek an injunction against the publication of anything, either on social media or in the media in general, you'd have to kind of begin a case and start from that point. But this injunction relief sought by Nikita Hand is being rolled in together with a hearing that was due to come to court anyway, in relation to in relation to finalise the cost issue, to do with the trial, and also during the last hearing to do with costs. Judge Alexander Owens had said he will come back further to discuss Conor McGregor's social media posts. He had suggested that they could be considered to be in contempt of court, but that he hadn't reached a final verdict to decide what he was going to do. So that was already coming back to court. And so this injunction is going to be as part of this. Now, in cases like, in other cases, let's put it this way, right? Often images that are distributed, the more, for example, if you look at CCTV from anything, by the time it gets to a courthouse, it's probably been processed by a large number of people, one way or another. It's gone through, the hotel would have originally had it in this case, then it would have gone to the guards, then it would have gone to, various other people, maybe to chop it down, editing it, then it goes to solicitors, and, so a large number of people would have it. Obviously then Nikita Hand is focused on the fact that Conor McGregor obviously has it, presumably as one way or another, and she's seeking for that to be stopped.
So where does that, sorry, what are you saying there? So basically this CCTV footage came from the hotel.
Presumably.
But once it goes into the hands of a chain in an investigation, you'd like to think that if it did get handed out during that process and was used in for what, the threats are there to be used to sort of, it's to show Nikita Hand in an ill light, according to his Italian friend. But surely if an injunction was granted against McGregor putting that out, if it went out by an unknown individual just to kind of a breath away from him, an investigation surely would have to be carried out into how that individual got it, because the chain of command you're talking about after it leaves the hotel is all legal.
Yeah, it would be, a good number of people, but still a very...
Well, a guard investigation are not going to hand out CCTV footage as part of an investigation to the members to any punter.
No, you would.
And solicitors aren't to do that either.
Now, there would be, we obviously have seen CCTV images seep out anyway, but you would think that this would be a very small number of people. And if something is to come out, it would have to be a deliberate choice. Now, the hearing would have been due to finish this week, you would imagine. The case is still live. It's still the same judge who heard it last year, the end of last year. That judge is still dealing with the issues surrounding this case. When something comes to an end, that judge's role in that case, effectively, that legal case finishes. So, the fact that this has come out in advance of the case finishing means that it can be brought up as part of that. Look, I'd have to say about all of this, right? Nikita Hand was on the stand for, I can't remember how many days, but a good number of days. Was it 3 or 4 days, something like that? She was questioned extensively. She answered all the questions to the best of her ability. The CCTV was played to the jury. It was described in the court reports. The reporters who were there will have seen it or seen parts of it. It wasn't definitive in terms of changing the jury's mind. The jury still looked at this case and said it effectively, well, I believe that they said, okay, there's Nikita Hand had obviously been out all night and had been partying away, but none of that matters. Is it definitive What is
See, there was
definitive?
a number of pieces of CCTV from the hotel.
Yeah.
But from what those social media postings are saying,
Yeah.
Conor McGregor's friend and business associate is concentrating on one piece of that CCTV, which is in a lift where Nikita Hand is seen, what was described to the jury and what they saw being affectionate, perhaps is the word, towards James Lawrence. And this CCTV came in the aftermath of she claims she was raped by Conor McGregor and had gone down to the basement when Conor McGregor left with the other girl that was there.
Yeah.
So that's the piece of CCTV they're talking about, and they sort of seem to be, or there seem to be threats to put this out.
Yeah.
Or certainly they're talking around that, and they're wondering why this hasn't been played and why can't this be showed, because this shows Nikita in, so the point they are trying to make surely is that this was after she later alleges she was raped by Conor McGregor, and she's behaving in this fashion with James Lawrence's friend.
Which was all ventilated. Ventilated during the case.
Totally and utterly.
Considered during evidence, played for the jury and featured in both summations.
But you've seen this stuff, the comments on social media and everything. A lot of commentary has gone on around that.
Yes.
And it's almost as if whoever is in Camp McGregor believes that's their trump card.
Yes. So they do
they're dangling it.
But it's, and so, I mean, we heard in court this week that in affidavits filed by Miss Nikita Hand's legal representatives, he said that the purpose of the publication of the CCTV was to boost sales of an alcoholic beverage owned by McGregor. Obviously, some people have refused to stock Conor McGregor's alcohol sales. This guy who's put this out, this Italian guy, he's put it out with the purpose of advertising the beverage, and Nikita's Hand's lawyers are making the clear case that that is the purpose of this. He said,
it's quite shocking, isn't it?
Yes, and Mr. Coleman, who's Nikita's lawyer, said that any attempt of releasing this footage was in contempt of court in circumstances where the only purpose that McGregor sought to do this was to undermine and discredit the verdict of the court, and in doing so to gain financially. So he also said clearly that the purpose of the CCTV was, he said that McGregor had persisted in attempting to disparage the court since the verdict of the jury was delivered. So the fact is that Conor McGregor has, which is very unusual in this country, you do of course see it in America all the time, but normally when a case is still live, even though the jury have reached a verdict, to have somebody tweeting away about it is extremely unusual. The point that they're making is that there is, by McGregor, a persistent attempt to say that the decision of the jury is not valid effectively. And
as if they haven't seen this, because of course the jury were presented with a case which had a number of strands of evidence.
Yeah.
And there was other, there was obviously her own testimony in the stand. There was he got into the stand, of course, and there was the CCTV and other evidence that was there.
And James Lawrence got into the stand.
So they saw that, the jury, as a collective.
Yeah.
What this threat almost seems to be is that let's take that single piece and put it out there and let's make people decide just on this.
Yeah.
Which of course isn't what happened in that court of law, nor would it.
No, and of course, the fact is, the circumstances in which Nikita Hand had a night out and all of that was ventilated.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ventilated and it was people heard and the jury heard and the public heard. And
she in particular said about the CCTV that she could hardly look at it. I mean, it was just so uncomfortable for her because she said she saw somebody who was just completely
out of it, effectively.
Yeah.
Now, so the affidavit also heard in court, it doesn't just seek to stop Conor McGregor publishing it or his agents, but it also asks that he would retrieve any material which has been improperly disseminated and permanently undertake not to publish it. So obviously then that's if the case was to arise that the CCTV had been shown to somebody through him, that would also it would be his duty to get it back effectively.
Get it back, yeah.
So
because you can't, it's sort of I suppose when something goes up on the internet, the problem is, as has always been the way,
It's not coming
it
down.
starts getting reshared and reshared
Yeah.
and reshared. It's not coming down.
Yeah.
You know, there can be calls for people not to share it. Usually they kind of make people want to see it more, whatever it is. And people can sort of copy it and, you know, even if it is removed at source, I suppose, other people have already copied it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we did a case last week.
it's like putting your finger in a dam.
It is. And I mean, if you look back at a case, for example, we did recently the murder of Garrett Hutch, where that CCTV went up. There was, I think, at least an attempt to stop it going up at some point. But once it was out, it was out.
Mm.
And I think that had been shared on a WhatsApp group. And, you know, these things got around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the real question, if you remember in the aftermath of the case, you asked, is Conor McGregor finished?
Mm.
And, you know, I mean, I think we said at the time, well, that he's not finished, that he has been damaged by it. And we've seen that a large number of shops and off licenses pull the products from sale. He certainly has been within a section of Irish society. He's become a persona non grata. But if you look at the weekend, we had a story where Conor McGregor, he togged out for his team, Black Forge FC, obviously named after the pub that he owns in South Dublin. He togged out himself. He played a match. I don't know if you saw the footage, but it certainly went across the world.
Well, of course it did.
Yeah.
You know? And
So-
of course, James Lawrence was there on the sidelines cheering for him. And
James Lawrence was there
You know.
cheering for him. That when the match was played down in Ringsend.
so, a matter of interest, how did you hear this was on? This wasn't a private thing. This was obviously somebody. Was there a press release?
No, there wasn't. But the news went out really, really quickly. Like if you look at our emails and social media, within seconds we had people sending us in footage of it.
Mm.
There was a huge crowd locally went out to see him play. The footage, there's a footage of him tackling somebody more akin to a MMA style takedown, I think, than a football tackle.
So he doesn't obviously usually play with this team.
No, but he does obviously fund it through the pub.
But this was a publicity stunt by McGregor.
Well, possibly, but and you know, but you can see that while, you know, he's not going to be invited onto the Late Late Show anytime soon, unlike in the past when he certainly was invited on. There is a whole other world out there where kids and local people will still come down to see him play at the match. It'll gain huge amounts of views on social media. It went through American publications or publications across the world who published the images of it without reference to the court case he's gone through. So Conor McGregor is continuing to survive as a...
What about the family stuff that he often posts of, you know, family days out with Dee and the children and
yeah, I mean,
kind of stuff? Was he doing that over Christmas?
Of course, and he continues to do that, continues to promote products he's involved in. And again, you can look across, you know, if you see news sites, you know, there's many of them covering MMA and things like that, combat sports and all of that stuff of Conor McGregor. You know, whatever he puts out is carried to an extent. This case is always going to follow him around. Even in some of those publications that I've said, there will still be a reference to him losing this court case. But again, you can see that even, you know, people, the media's changed, hasn't it? You could see Mel Gibson, for example, on Joe Rogan this week. I don't know if you saw any footage of that. Mel Gibson was a persona non grata as well for a while, if you remember. He had a drunken outburst at an ex, and there was, you know... Anyway,
he was saying some crazy stuff on live news shows as well about the LA fires.
Yeah, but I think that was...
He remains pretty controversial, I think.
He remains controversial, but he's still on Joe Rogan, the biggest podcast
everybody's
in the world.
on Joe Rogan.
Well, that's what I mean. So, like, for a period of time after his disgrace, nobody would interview Mel Gibson. He didn't get any film parts. But because of the nature of the media now, he will continue to that just doesn't hold, and that's not going to hold for
Probably
Conor
still
McGregor.
won't. He'll get on Joe Rogan maybe, but he probably still won't get film parts. And
Well, he is in films, in fairness. But yes, no, but
okay.
you're right. You're right.
What I mean is, if he was still in the height of that controversy, you might get yourself onto Joe Rogan, but you're probably not going to get into that. Get your full, whatever you'd call it, your reputation and your clout back. But you have to kind of work a little bit harder at it, do you?
You have to work a bit harder, and
and accept that you're on that.
You're on a different path, So you're not going to get on the Late Show. In Irish terms, you're not going to get on the Late Show. The Irish Times aren't going to do an interview with you on the.
I reckon
section.
Whether or not this had happened or not, Conor McGregor was never getting back on the Late Show. The one time he did go on it, he was asked by Ryan Tubridy if he was going to make an honest woman out of Dee Devlin, and it was absolutely mortifying because he wasn't, clearly, and she was sitting there in the audience. Yeah. It was horrific. I think, I cringed for her, but
you have to feel for Nikita Hand. I mean,
this is just an ongoing, that's what I was saying to the beginning of it, was November. We have been busy through, and everybody has had Christmas and New Year and blah. And now we're into January. For her, it must be every single day. How do you tear yourself away from the social media? You must be dreading what's going to happen, what's going to show up.
Yeah.
She must have hoped that people have the sense and realise that, a court is a sacred place to most of us, and you probably don't operate against the courts. She was, I have no doubt, hoping that the upcoming
the final hearing,
would keep her, that nothing would happen in the meantime. But what you see on social media is, it's like this, we're about to drop this, isn't it? That's what it looks like from what's being said and what Conor McGregor himself has reposted and stuff. It must be horrendous.
It must be. And the irony of it all is...
And can you imagine the amount of... she should just turn off all her social media and her devices and everything.
Now, the other side of it is, she has had great support. And, there are... I
hope so.
Yeah, Christy Moore, I think, in one of his concerts over Christmas, I think, just before Christmas, dedicated a song to her and Natasha O'Brien in Limerick. So there is support there. Absolutely. But it's just that for her, she must want to get on with her life and be free of probably both the support and the negativity and
bullying. It's just total and utter online bullying. What's happening to her?
People are entitled to have opinions on anything in life, right? That's everybody's right, okay? But she has subjected herself to a court process, and that's a higher bar than somebody spouting an opinion on social media. She made a choice to sit down in front of a jury of her peers under very strict rules that exist in a courtroom, where a judge would determine what could be admitted, what could be questioned. It's the absolute gold standard of what is true. She put herself through all of that, and the jury found in her favour. And nothing can take that away from her. That's the truth of it.
The Lawrence's appearance was his first since the court case.
Yeah, he's
on the sidelines.
Yeah, it just shows you that. Look, these they're going to keep doubling down, and that's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're obviously really good mates anyway, aren't they?
They are.
You can rely on plenty of those people
that
he has around him. Right. Well, let's cover this on Thursday. Let's see what happens in the court with the injunction and everything else, and come back to it then. Thanks, Niall.
Thanks, Nicola.
I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.